Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Good day. Hope everyone is doing well. As I get set up here, I'm excited about today's topic of discussion. So just bear with me as I get myself set up here. Anyone who's here, please say hello. Say hi in the chat. Tell me where you're from, where you're chiming in from, name. It's wonderful. Oh. All right. It's a little bit of a rainy day down here in St. Catharines, Ontario. So let us get started. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. I just like to start out by saying thank you. Thank you for your investing your time and energy into coming into the sacred space of learning, growth, expansion, and connection. So thank you for taking that time, and I really hope to provide you with some value, answer any questions that you may have, and go from there in the space of numerology for business. Exciting stuff. Been playing around with the space for a bit of time, and it has truly has transformed my life in many different ways, and it excites me to have the opportunity to share my expertise and my learnings through this new space. So this is truly, it's a new space for me as well. And I've been a student of understanding vibration, understanding the physical, emotional, mental vibrations. However, I've also been a student and I practice for decades in the area of spirituality and vibration and those different aspects. However, finding the blend between living life analytically and dealing with our own programs within our own minds based off of childhood and society and culture and all the fun stuff that we experience in this human space, and using and blending and meshing the two to create prosperity, abundance, wholeness, happiness, joy, and fulfillment. And I think a lot of that really are striving for that, aren't we? Anyone agree with that? Please say yes in the chat. So to start out, as many of you may know, my name is Maria Esposito, and I am the founder of Revolution 9. I am your vibrational logic consultant. A little tongue twister there. A vibrational logic consultant and wholeness strategist. So simply what that means and what I do is that I bridge the gap between high-level business strategy with the beauty of the simplicity of the metaphysical, intuitive, vibrational science. So to create wholeness within your life and within business. And I use beautiful modalities of hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, hypnocode, numerology, which is the forefront of understanding the blueprint of your sovereign beingness. So using, and that's what it is. We're all here for a purpose. We're all here with specific execution codes. For those who've been following me, I use that word a lot, and that is essentially your day of birth and how you execute, how you move forward, and how you take action, and also how you, and hitting those pain points. There. So these tools really truly allow you to audit your life and diagnose your life and your business in a way to that gives you information so you could make those strategic moves that create those transcendence, abundance, prosperity, and happiness and fulfillment. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me. And so with our topic for today, so the topic for today isn't exactly specific. So I wanted to touch upon a few different things in the area of using this divination tool of numerology specific to business and how to strategize and use specific areas. So there's a few different things we'll be covering. And to give you an outline, so I'll be sharing for the next 10 minutes 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to leave the remainder of the hour to questions and intuitive readings. So I hope you've come in knowing your birth date and your day of birth and whatnot, and we could, anything that comes up, if there's any clarity that you're looking for, I could definitely give you those insights, intuitive insights. So for the first part, that's exactly how we're going to flow through this hour. So as we move forward, the first point I wanted to actually share is one of the common mistakes that I have found that, and I'm also putting myself into this space as well. When things aren't working in business, we have this program where if it's not working, it's broken. We need to fix it. And based on your own personal soul code blueprint, that could actually dictate how you move about in making those changes. But ultimately, trying to fix something is a very logical, strategic, and it's a very ego-based, and trying to fix things when we're looking at the vibrational logic aspect, trying to fix things is very analytical based. And sometimes really the problem might not be with the system, may not be with your marketing agency, may not be with your team or employees. It could possibly be the misalignment with your own your day of birth. Or it could be a misalignment with that aspect, the misalignment with who you are, understanding your own personal soul code. So I'll give you an example. Your day of birth is your execution code, which basically means it's how you react when you're hit with certain situations, contrasting situations. And it also dictates how you move forward and take action on new projects, new launches, day-to-day operations. It dictates, and each number has a certain code. So your day of that birth will tell me exactly what that vibration looks like for you on both aligned and shadow side. So ideally, when we look at your three main power codes, your day of birth, life path, and destiny, which essentially are your external means of how you execute, how you do things moment to moment, your roadmap to why you are here, and your purpose and what your gifts are that you're meant to be sharing within your life's work. Those essentially dictate to the main purpose of the human experience. So with that said, understanding your own personal codes and, for example, your day of birth, what really help you to plan your goals and move yourself from a state of survival, which is, and how that shows up is fixing. Something didn't work, you got to fix it. That's a space of survival, into aligning to truly how you're meant to move forward and how you're meant to move past those contrasting experiences into a space of sovereign success and alignment within, and finding that harmony and peace with what you're doing and how you're expressing your destiny code in terms of your service provisions. The next thing I want to share with specific to your day of birth is, again, I like to use the term execution mode. So your day of birth is that execution mode, and it's how you take action in that space. And it is also that stress response and how you deal with certain situations. So to give you an example, when you're looking at the 9 root numbers, so somebody with a day of birth 1 would, which I like to look as the visionary leader, or in other words, the activator. This person thrives on fast, momentous reaction and moving forward very quickly, and thrives on new beginnings and starting new projects. In contrast, a 4, a root number 4, is somebody that thrives on systems, building rock hard foundations. They are the people that are creating the SOPs and anything systematic, analytical within business. And the key thing with a 4 is, because they are building that strong foundation, they move on a slower level. So a key thing to note, you could be working in 2 contrasting codes. So for example, you could have a 1 as a day of birth that's dictating that fast, momentous, taking action energy, whereas your life path, your journey could be a 4, which is telling you, take the time, build the foundation, let us move forward, in a systematic way, and build that strong foundation, so that everything you build in the future is going to be sound, right? It goes back to my analogy. When you're building a skyscraper in real estate, the key thing is that you want to have that rock hard foundation, and you want to build that security. Because if you start building on quicksand or grass, that building is eventually going to collapse. So the 4s are your people that are your architects and your foundational architects. So again, sometimes it could be that you're feeling that conflict between wanting to do this, but yet you're wanting, there's that contrasting energy. So that's another key thing that you really want to become aware of. So I'm looking, yes, oh my goodness. Here we go. Hello. Yes, I got to keep track of the questions. Sovereign success, yes. You know what? To me, sovereign success is, I'm going to articulate this because that's a very good question. It's a feeling response. We talk about freedom as it's this tangible thing. However, it's that innate feeling of peace and harmony that when you're going through building your legacy, that there is this internal alignment and harmony, that even when you're hitting those obstacles and those those conflicting situations, that you still have this inner knowing that everything is going to work out. Everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. And it's just this inner piece of what it is that you're creating. And that to me is true success. That even if you're not creating exactly what you had planned, things are still aligning, and those contrasting moments are truly insignificant. So that to me is what sovereign success is that you may not have those projections met, or we're getting the end of Q1 and you had plans that this is what you wanted to accomplish. However, things didn't work out. However, you have that inner knowing that that's okay. Sometimes we need to pivot, and you're not resistant to making those pivots and those changes. And you're still staying in that state of alignment, and it's not impacting you, and you're not trying to fix things, right? So that to me is what sovereign success is. It's ultimately a feeling. And yeah, so what does being a root one mean? 1 and 4 mean. So a root one, so specific to your day of birth. So specific to your day of birth, a root one is all about the leadership in action. Simply put, it's your leadership in action, very fast moving, very intuitive, and it's all about creating that balance between the analytical mind and the intuitive mind. It's aligning with that big picture, because they are a very big picture, vision oriented people. Whereas the 4 is kind of like the opposite. The thing that they're very similar is that they're both very intuitive. But the 4 is all about listening to those intuitive hunches and grounding in a methodical way, step by step, taking action in a step by step manner. And these 4s will manifest big, big results because they have that. It's finding that balance between the analytical mind, taking action. However, 4s have a tendency to take action, and this is the shadow side, taking action at the inappropriate times. If they're taking action in a space of programming, habitual patterns, that this is what they do day to day, when something new occurs, this is what they do, they could become very rigid in those processes, which could be the fall, where they fall short. Sometimes 4s need to pivot and look at the bigger picture and get out and pivot into a new direction. So but the 4 ultimately, these are your manifestors. They are your foundation architects. These are your people that build the businesses in a way that is authentic. The 4 is one of the top numbers that they are loyal and very honest, and these are the people that build these incredible businesses, these incredible foundations. So, but they do it methodically, whereas the 1s are not methodical at all. These are your people that are the big picture. They hire the people, they hire the 4s to plan out and create the blueprints of their bigger vision. So, different. Beautiful question. And how do you know if you and how do you know if you're a 1 or a 4? Okay, so in terms of, because we're talking about the execution code, so that's your day of birth, you would just basically, if you were a double digit, you would add that double digit together. So for example, I'm born on the 31st. So the 3 plus the 1 equals a 4. So yes, I am a 4. I'm exactly that. So if you are a single digit, the beauty in the single digit is that you have the full vibration of the 4, whereas someone like myself that has the 3 and the 1, the 3 is the creative expression, These are the people that they walk into a room and they light up the room. They're full of joy. They have this way of communication that people could intuitively, instinctively are drawn to them, and they have a magnetism about them. And their whole purpose is they have to execute that day of birth. So, and executing, and they really need to express themselves to the fullest. The one, which we've explained, they are your leadership. These are your visionary leaders, finding that balance between analytical mind, intuitive mind, because it's a highly intuitive number. These are your momentous take action people, very fast. When they make a decision, they take action. Shadow side of that, they stagnate, or they get stuck in their ways, and because they know their big vision, they have a hard time of letting go of the day-to-day aspects, the operation things, and they feel that they can't trust. So they have a lot of trust issues, which is a shadow side of the one. So you're welcome. You mentioned basing your numbers on your date of birth. Is there other places that you can base numbers on? Yeah, so your full birth date. So when you look at your full birth date, that actually dictates your life purpose number. So when you add up, so for example, I was born on December 31st, 1979. So numerically, you would add up each digit. So for example, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 9 equals 33, 6. So my life purpose numbers are 33, 6. So that's very simply put. And it's understanding, again, I'm a 33 is a master number. And then you have the 6, which is the cosmic parent, and it's the compassionate mentor and communicator. So these are your people that really are all about service, all about responsibility. These people work with high-level entrepreneurs, business owners. These are your people that really have a unique approach, very trustworthy. They come from a space of love and compassion. They truly just want to serve and help people in the way that they need help. So however there are people that are drawn to these 6s, they have a certain way of being able to guide them through those spaces of, moving them from survival to that sovereign success. And they know how to guide them, and they do that in a very loving, compassionate, heart-centered way. So very like a parent, because it is the cosmic parent number. Mm-hmm. Yes, so here we go. Yeah, foreign. Okay, 4s and 1s must complement each other as leadership team. Are there any amendments that make good leaders? Oh, yes. So the leadership component resides in pretty much every single number. The expression of how that turns out and how that shows up is differs from one to another. So the 1 is the leadership, taking action. They're all about that. Another really big leadership number is the number 8. So the 8 is your most optimal vibration, money frequency leadership. This is your number. I like to call the 8s your honorable leader. These are your high executive leaders that have an innate understanding of money, structure. When they're in alignment to that powerful code and grounded in that space of power, knowing and executing their leadership style, they are able to ultimately attract prosperity in such a huge abundance, because it is a manifestation code. So this is another top leader. And another leader would be your nines, but very different. So your nine, the leadership in the nine, these are your philanthropists and they are humanitarian people. So these are your type of leaders that actually come about. They are your leaders that attach themselves in serving humanity on a global level. These are your people that are aligning to your not-for-profit organizations. They are heading these initiatives that you hear all around the world, people making a difference and helping humanity in a way. So these are your leaders that are truly your catalyst. I love calling them your catalyst of love. They do it in a way that is, again, like the six. They come from a space of heart-centeredness, of truly wanting to lead humanity and help humanity in a way that is very philanthropic, like in that philanthropy pace, but also they are all about the big mission. They are mission-oriented, take action leaders. Beautiful, beautiful people. So those would be, I would say, your ultimate. But each of them, like the three is all about. These are your communicators. They have this charisma that when they communicate, whether that's through literature, social media, whatever that is, they magnetize people to attract them. So that's another form of leadership. The fives are all about, these are your risk takers. They take action very fast and they're risk averse. They want change. They want to experience the world. And people look up to that because they want to be able to have that luxury of being able to feel that what it is to be free and express and experience life in a way that truly transforms. And so, I could go to each one and pinpoint that this is not the place. I could go on and on. Yes. What is the shadow side? So the shadow side. So with that, what specifically shadow side? Is there a specific code, a number that you want me to share the shadow side for? So the shadow sides, so each and every number has its own shadow sides. And these are in business, these could show up ultimately when you're expressing and going through these contrasting moments. It basically will dictate, procrastination. That could be a shadow side. A procrastination is a shadow side of a one, a four, but really the one, even a three. Perfectionism, that would definitely be a one. And see another perfection would also be a seven. Sevens to have a 10-day shadow side for a seven could be that perfectionism. They have to do the research, and these are your scientists. These are the people that dig deep. They want to get the information. They go into spaces that the average person don't go into, and they have this. They become your specialists. Shadow side is that they still have to do the research. They can't launch yet. So that's another. So yeah, each of them: procrastination, perfectionism, distractions. Five. That's a big one for a number five. So if you have a five code somewhere, being distracted. Number one, that is another shadow side of the one. Is people who have ones have a tendency that they have these big visions and they attract these amazing opportunities, but they never finish them. That's a shadow side of a one, is that they're constantly wanting to take, and that's also another five, because they attract and magnetize opportunities, but they never complete. So very good question. And I'm sending now. Oh, yes, you are a one, definitely a perfectionist. Yeah. And, when you understand and know that, if you get stuck in a space of perfectionism, it's coming to that realization that that's actually only preventing you for moving forward in a momentous way, because the one is a very fast moving energy. Just like anyone here who has watched my series of 10-1, we are in a 1 year universally. We are feeling the feeling. Look, we're getting to the end of our first quarter, and it's like, I don't even know where the past 3 months went. That's how fast this year is going to fly by. So the key thing is with the one, if you're able to keep up with that fast, momentous flow, get out of that space of perfectionism and look at the bigger picture and just focus on continuously moving forward, with that flow. You don't want to get stuck in a space of perfection, because that really is a shadow side. We're always working in progress. Yeah. So the other thing I actually want to share with you, so this is actually a topic I haven't really talked a lot about you. So if you have a day of birth and or a life purpose number of a 4 and an 8, I like to call this, you got to be really careful, because there is a certain magnetic relationship between 4s and 8s, day of birth, life purpose numbers. When these two numbers come together, they create a magnetism that is so profound, which could create fateful and karmic events. So you have to be very cognizant. So how this shows up in business. So for example, it looks like I'm very dark here. Can anyone, here. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. I just blacked out there for a second. Sorry about that. So I'll use myself as an example and how it is that I work. Being a day of birth 4, I'm very conscious of how I plan my dates. How do I look? No. Oh, here we go. That's better. Okay, here we go. Is that better? Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So because the 4 and 8s create these karmic and fateful events, which basically means they could really create a lot of friction within your business. So if you are, say for example, when I'm planning specific dates, I will never book something on a 4 or an 8 code. When I'm looking at price points, I will never use a 4 and an 8. There are strategic ways to bypass these 4 and 8, this relationship between the two, because it could create certain frictions within your business. There could be business losses. It could attract, certain situations with clients, unsuccessful launches to products or services. So understanding that, 4 to me is it's not an abundance code. It's not, even though it's a soul code, and there's certain ways I like to use the 4 when I'm doing anything related to booking appointments, price points, even my name. And that's another key thing, because I will never ever, even though it's part of my soul codes, and you really like that alignment with, strategically planning things using your soul codes in mind. These abundance codes, 4 is not an abundance code. So, however, 8 is your optimal money manifestation frequency number. It is a prosperity code. It is an abundance code. It is a wealth generating code. So 8 is your ultimate money. However, if you have a 4 or an 8, if you have a 4 in your day of birth, I would not be using that 8 strategically in anything that you do. So you really have to understand how to determine your cycles and your power days, power months, power years. Stay tuned. That is something we'll be working on in my upcoming workshop, is understanding how to determine your power days. Do you have these friction codes of the 4 and the 8? And making sure you know how to use these codes, that you're not feeling that friction within your business. So this is a really key thing. It could even show up, using these codes within your branding. You just have to be strategic in how to use it if you have these codes within your day of birth or life purpose number, because they do have a very unique relationship. Very magnetic, and really could create incredible opportunities. So, however, you just have to know where to set the boundaries, and know how to maneuver on that line with these 4 and 8 codes. So really something I wanted to share with. Yeah, you're welcome. Uh, how do I know how to not use these conflicting codes? So for me, there's so many different ways, and this is definitely something that I'd be covering in my upcoming vibrational logic mastery blueprint workshop, is understanding the friction between that and being careful of consciously how to use it. For me, the easiest way is not using those codes at all. Not using them at all. As much as the 8 is that money frequency is your most optimal money frequency, whereas there are other wealth generating and prosperity codes, which I'll be talking about in my workshop, specifically to what those are. Each of those codes have different vibrations, but I personally, the easiest way is not use them at all. That's probably the most simplistic, because if you start working with these codes, you really can't judge or predict how that's going to unfold. So I just don't use them at all. So that's a very good question. Thank you. Beautiful question. And just looking through power days. Yeah, so we touched upon the power days. So when I speak about power days, I'm referring to, so in our numerology cycles, based on your power, your 3 main power codes, which are your day of birth, life purpose, and destiny numbers. I like to use these 3 main codes strategically, and your power codes come from basically those numbers. So we dictate, and we're able to pinpoint specific days where one of those 3 codes are highlighted in your cycle. We also do that with your month and then your power years. So what that basically means is that, so for example, my day of birth is a 31/4, and my life purpose is a 6. So I will use my personal soul codes in calculation and figuring out when do those specific days show up within my month or within my quarter. So that is my first step of knowing, okay, these are the days that align. So that's double emphasis. So not only is that highlighting my personal code, it's double the emphasis of that vibration of that number. So I'm strategically using those days to plan launches, plan specific workshops, or things like that, or even price points. So it's strategically using these days of the months and the days to be able to use that vibration in a powerful way to create the results that I'm seeking. So that's a really that's the kind of way of how I use these codes. And let's see here. Yeah, Jenna, I'm just going through these questions here. And Can you explain how you use these codes strategically? Can you use these codes strategically? Are you referring to your soul codes, like your power codes, or are you referring to your power days, your cycles? Because so I'll share both. How about that? Uh, so with your power codes, which are your main your power trilogy, your day of birth, life purpose, and your destiny, you're able to use these in creative ways to align the energies so that you could create certain manifestations, certain results, and it also depicts and tells you strategically how to move forward, how to take action. So there's many different ways. So for example, you I'm a 33-6 life purpose number. So my roadmap, if we want to speak strategically, is that I'm supposed to be creating group experiences in a way that high level opportunities, products and services that truly are going to serve and help entrepreneurs and business owners in a way that is strategic, yet, but also in a way that allows them to connect and move forward in a way that allows them to find those successes seamlessly, yet in a heart centered way that aligns with the core of who they are. A 6 is also about groups. So it's that cosmic parent. They are also people that facilitate group experiences. And they're also the people that really are all about strategy, but in a heart centered way. That's the biggest thing. They're very, very responsible people that just want to service in a way that they could be themselves. So if that makes sense. And so let me see here. Going by strategically. Yeah. So whereas when you're looking at cycles, power cycles, these are this is kind of like, you could look at this as a blueprint to be able to pinpoint if you know that you have an opportunity of a launch, or you have a meeting coming up with a high level with a client or an executive, and you want to be able to strategically plan on a specific day that really will create those benefits that you're seeking, creating those results, closing that deal, and making those choices and being able to move very simply and effortlessly. So when you're working with the flow of energy, things kind of just flow very easily. When you're resisting it, it's almost like you're trying to push a concrete wall, and you're trying to push and push and push, and it feels hard, and and you're not getting the results that you're seeking. When you're in that space of feeling and the results are showing that, then there's something going on. There's a something that energetically you're not aligned or attuned to. So numerology for business is really a key awareness tool that you could use strategically, which is what I do with my clients, and understanding the wholeness of the visionary leader, the person running the business, but also the vibration of the business, because the business could be dictating something completely different than what the leader is needing. So that's a whole different level. Yes, perfect. What is the difference between the power codes, life codes, and your power days? So I like to code. So your life codes, so your soul codes, life codes. I like to call those three, like your power trilogy, are your three main power codes, soul codes. So I like to use different names interchangeably, but ultimately in numerology, you have your soul codes, your 6 soul codes. 3 of them are your most important: day of birth, life purpose, and your destiny. Those are the 3 power trilogy that I usually refer them to as your 3 main. And those are the ones that I tend to focus on most. Then you have your power days that are connected to your soul codes. However, these are now looking at cycles, times of the year. So it's connecting, it's your soul codes, specific days that these are your numerology cycles. So we are in a cycle 10-1, which is all about fast moving, instant manifestation, moving forward, taking action, beginning new projects. It is the birth, it is the new beginnings. So that is a universal cycle, but your own personal codes, I like to call it, these are your power codes, because these are your days that align with your power trilogy, your day of birth, life purpose, and destiny, which are you're able to strategically use the energies that are double emphasized to use them to your advantage of whatever it is that you're creating. So that's the difference between your cycles and your soul codes. So they do intertwine, however, they're separate, but they do work together in terms of your power cycles. Yeah. So, and we get that from using your birth date. So that's how we determine your your power, your years, months, and days, your power years, months, and days, your personal years. Yeah. So there's so many levels. It's like astrology. There's so many levels that we could go deep into this concept. But the foundation is just basically we have our cycle years, cycle days, cycle months. And then you have your power days, which is where you bring your soul codes into. So that's the most simplistic way of putting that. Because now you're emphasizing that vibration of that code. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very strategic tool. So for anyone who likes strategy, or maybe you're a 5 that just, or a 5 or a 1 that just really is not about strategy and they just want to take action. They have these are your big visionary leaders, and these are the ones that just want to take action, and they're not good with structure. And these are the people that really don't want to deal with the processes and stuff. So that could be a shadow side. So that's why sometimes you want to collaborate with people. So we could also talk about missing numbers in your codes and how that shows up in business. So you might have certain numbers in different areas, but which numbers are you missing from your codes? And seeing, and how does that show up? Mm-hmm. So that's that's another layer of numerology for business as well. Mm-hmm. And here, do we have any other questions here? Anyone else? I'm looking. Oh, here. If 8 isn't an abundance number, is that in general for everyone, or is it specific to your soul code? So, good question. That's a really good question. So 8. I'll give you an example. So I just spoke about missing code. So I'm missing the number 8. However, the funny thing is that you could strategically create the vibration. So it might be gaining the skill to be able to create that. If say a number 8 is not in your blueprint within your soul codes. So 8 is missing from mine. However, I have the 4, which is also manifestation numbers. And because for the most part, I'm in alignment with a lot of my codes, I could create that manifestation in different ways and be able to create that abundance that a person that has an 8 in their code naturally has, if they're in alignment and they're not exhibiting their shadow side. So it's, again, it's an awareness. Do you have an 8 within your 6 soul codes, or does it show up in your birth certificate name? So your birth certificate name is attached to your destiny number, and is also that's how you get your soul number and your personality. Those 3 codes come from your registered birth certificate name. So does your name show, does that 8 show up, for example, in your name? Does it show up in your 6 codes? I like to go a little deeper. So in the different consulting packages that I do, I go deeper and we even look at your natal chart. So for me, 8 shows up in my natal chart. However, it's not, that shows up in my astrology natal chart. So 8 is there, but it's not in my direct numerology blueprint. So for that, I just look at that as, okay, this awareness of, okay, so for me, what I do strategically is that I like to partner up with those people that have 8s. And as long as that alignment between what I have to offer energetically and through my skill sets is in alignment with their vision, and there is a synergy, then that is how you could also create. So creating those partnerships and collaborations with those other people that may or may not have those codes. So that's another way to create that missing code. And what's the other part? Abundance number. So yes, so the other part of that is 8 is in your code. So you could use the 8. So for example, if you do not have a 4 or an 8 in your codes, a 4 or an 8 in your day of birth or life purpose, then I'd say go for it. 8 is a prosperity number. It's an abundance accelerator. It's a wealth generating number. So 8 is a beautiful number. So if you had that 8 in one of your soul codes, it would double emphasize. So I would say yes, as long as it's not a day of birth or a life purpose. I would not use it. I just keep things simple and not use that if it is. But if you don't, and you do have an 8 in your codes, use the 8. It's a beautiful abundance code, and it, in those different spaces, like I just said, it's a wealth generating number. So it really does escalate that wealth. Prosperity and abundance is a little bit more generalized. So you could create those abundances using these numbers in your price points and different means within your business. So yeah, definitely. You could definitely use those codes. However, for me, I like to, I don't have any plans right now, but we also have our own wealth formula. That is a very strategic. That one is actually connected to your natal chart, your soul codes, astrological natal chart, but we all have a wealth formula code. So that could be, you could have 1, 2, 3. So that wealth formula, which is this is a more in-depth and advanced space to really, those are the ones that you really want to use. So for example, I have a 6. A 6 is one of my wealth formula codes. So I use 6 for a lot of things. And it's also a wealth generating code. So there's, again, so many levels, and this is a level that I work strategically with my consulting clients, and really diagnosing, breaking down, and figuring out what is the best strategic move for what it is that you want to create. So I actually help my clients build the blueprint and guide them through those steps. But the first several sections are all the diagnosis and the auditing. Is the auditing, diagnosis, figuring things out. Then we go to the strategic planning. So, great question. Wealth formula. That sounds intriguing. Yes. Yep. Those are really, that again is these are the codes that you really want to use strategically. And again, like I said, there's a process to figuring out what those codes are, and it's bringing in not only the numerology, but it's also bringing the patterns within your astrology blueprint. So it's finding those strategies and what are the similarities between your numerology blueprint and your astrology blueprint, and finding the patterns. And that is what dictates your wealth formula. And I'm speaking very simplistically. Mhm. Uh, Nice stress relief. Yes. Thank you, team. So, anyone who wants to learn more about my vibrational logic consulting, um, my team has put the link in the comments. So, anyone who's interested in, anyone who's attending today, that is, but you could find my booking link on any of um, my bio, any of my bios on all of my platforms. Book with me. I give a 20-minute free consultation if you're interested in learning how to work with me. And so, for anyone that is new to numerology, uh, go and take my soul code quiz. So the soul code quiz is not going to dictate your day of birth, life purpose, any of those. However, what it is going to enlighten is that, be honest, you'll go through a questionnaire and it'll actually dictate and break down for you the various vibrations that you are emitting. So, simply put, it is going to show you exactly how you're executing things, what it is that you're doing, and the next level from that point is figure out exactly what your soul codes are. So this actually will tell you is your first step in seeing exactly what exactly you're putting out into the world, and exactly what you will be attracting back. So it's a great first step for somebody who is new to numerology. And it's also a great fun tool to go through the different questions and kind of see, okay, you know what? And yes, sometimes in different scenarios you could be, but just be honest and look at, kind of put yourself in the bigger picture when answering the questions. So that's a great first step for somebody that is wanting to learn more. So again, you could find the Soul Code quiz here in the comments. Thank you, team. Thank you. Perfect. Level of vibrating. So if you want to really know where you're vibrating at in the different spaces, take the Soul Code quiz. Um, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, and that you could find on any platforms. But for anyone who's here today, the link is in the comments. And what else? What other questions do we have here? Because we have a few minutes left, and then I will be leaving you guys to continue your creation moving forward, completing your day here. Any other questions here? So, yeah. So, stay tuned for my upcoming Vibrational Logic Mastery Blueprint workshop. And that is where we go a deep dive into numerology, your power days, your power cycles. And you'll be doing the learning portion from home. You get a manual that will guide you through figuring out your 3 power codes and figuring out your power days, power months, and power years. So your cycle days, months, and years. Once you have that completed, which is a requirement before coming to the workshop, I will intuitively and strategically guide you to figuring out which are your most advantageous days to be launching and creating. and using your codes strategically to create those successes and abundant results. So stay tuned for that. And that'll be, we'll go much more deeper into that. So stay tuned. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Anyone else have any questions? So for anyone that is watching this replay, again, I want to say thank you for taking the time. If you have any questions, please comment. I also ask you, as from business owner to business owner, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, um, algorithms constantly changing. I ask for your help, for anyone that sees value in this, please share, like, comment. It really truly does help get my message out and gets this video out into the world. And if we're unable to support each other in that way, then really, shadow side of the one is I got to do everything myself. And that is really not an abundance mindset. So if you have found value, please subscribe, like, and share. And I truly look forward to our next YouTube Live Masterclass. And that'll be in 2 weeks from today, same time, same place. And yes, thank you. Please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you to my team. And other than that, thank you. And sending you lots of love, prosperity, and creation. Until next time, take care.
6 in the chat.